Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome back to Endless Space 2, where the music really kicked up right as I hit record there. Man, this game, I don't know what it is exactly, just something about this game feels good. I just like being in here. Alright, where are we at? We're working towards settling. We want to get control of the constellation. I would love to get this 15% industry bonus. It looks like actually we are not alone here on this constellation. An unknown empire has control. That is not... That green color is not the same color. Yeah, this is more of a faded yellow. And it's not the same color as the Yosho either. So there's yet another force out there. This must be a very large constellation. Alright, well, at this point, we would have to get up to four systems owned, which we're working toward 5, right? We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm confident we can get there. Alright, we are going to have to build some military vessels, partially to fight pirates, and partially to complete this quest over here. So I'm thinking that maybe what we want to do... I know the plan was to have this ship just scout IMEX thoroughly, but I'm thinking maybe what we want to do instead is have this ship turn around and get vision of the pirates, because if we're going to build warships, it behooves us to know exactly what we need to fight. There are some design decisions that we can make. But we will not be able to make them in any meaningful way without information. Okay, latest political surveys looking a little bit more sensible. I mean, I'm expecting to see the religious and ecologist parties pretty dominant in our system for some time. An emissary from the Academy arrives dressed formally. They only agree to speak or communicate in public venues while being recorded. This is no ordinary discussion. It appears that the head of the Academy is indisposed, and various organizations within the Academy are beginning to operate with a certain degree of independence. You are provided with a few names, a list, a small explanation, really just a marketing brochure, on the Academy's structure and organization. Once the discussions are over, you place an encrypted call to the hero in your employ who is visibly uncomfortable. You understand, they say. We are beings of exceptional power. We are trained to seek only strength and knowledge, but some seek more, you finish. Yes, and there are associations, fraternities within the Academy, theoretically just clubs for heroes with shared interests. Those who seek power often use them for leverage, however. Hey, that's a familiar story. In research, training, exploration, none of this is shocking, though it makes you uneasy. But as long as they lack access to resources, you say, they are not a threat, at least not to friendly empires. Your employee nods as if agreeing and prepares to end the discussion. Then, at the last second, changes their mind. They add, remember that there are unclaimed places of enormous wealth out there, and everyone is starting to look at them. The transmission is terminated, leaving you curious and concerned. Alright, so we could try to figure out just exactly what the heck he was talking about by investigating curiosities and get ourselves a probe microfactory. Okay, much more efficient probe production. This does take an additional support slot, though, so like it wouldn't even work on our scout ships, because we'd have to pull out the probe module in order to install it. We could do a little bit of searching, discover 4 systems outside your constellation in order to learn how to build a scavenged ram scoop, which will make our ships considerably faster. Also, this is pretty easy to do. The moment we leave our constellation, we're going to end up probably on another constellation and be able to discover a bunch of systems on that constellation. So this seems very doable to me. And mapping. We do not have the ability to pursue the mapping option because we don't have whatever the unique constellation is. I think we're going to go this way. I like the scavenged ram scoop better than the other reward, and I also think that's a fairly easy thing to do. Rather than trying to gather a bunch of information, let's just go out and find these places of power. You know, we could stop off at Ying, spend our probes, and then go gather that relic. It probably wouldn't add much time to the travel. Yeah, we can cover that distance, I think, in a single turn. And this'll get us a little bits of money. Little bits of resources, anyway. Okay, time for the election. Every 20 turns, we have a big election. We can throw some of our political support behind a particular party. We can hold primary elections, which provides a strong boost to the selected party at a cost of 207 dust, or we could conduct some lobbying, which will provide strong penalty to everybody except the chosen party. I don't know that we want to mess with this too much. I would much rather be the ecologist party than the religious party. Let's just throw our official support for free behind the ecologists, because it looks like they're going to come out ahead. And I want this dust for other things. Oh, that looks like a pacifist ecologist government has been elected, which actually works out all right for us. Obviously, it's going to change the automatic law that comes from your dominant political party. Hold on, we'll come back to this. Let's talk about laws first. Actually, the best way to do this is just be at the political screen. So, +1 dust on populations. I believe that means +1 dust for each different population that you own. Or, sorry, that you have in your empire. And this allows us to pay an influence cost to force people into a more peaceful stance with us. Honestly, might be worth thinking about. We'll see if we can afford to do it with the Yosho. Just make it more expensive for them to declare war when they decide it is time to do so. We still have access to the Green Fertility Bill, although we still don't want to run it, because we don't have anybody living on any anomaly planets yet. And then we have the ability to get a bunch of approval from making friends. And I've never really used Trusted Broker. The idea is you just put it in your government and leave it there, and eventually you will... I mean, the longer you leave it there, the more total influence you have paid for it. So you have to keep making deals and getting discounts in order for the amount you've saved from the discounts to be greater than the amount you've paid to keep the law active. I don't know. It just doesn't seem great to me. I think we're going to leave these slots empty for the moment. I think we're headed toward... Like when we settle on Gyazar... No, we're actually not settling on anomaly planets. Well, for the moment, I guess let's just bank influence then. Okay, this quest was completed without our input, which is a little sad. We don't get 30 Hyperium for free. Not that we desperately needed it, but free stuff is always nice.
Free to anger us.
Okay, they are openly threatening me.
Enjoy proposals made with a blade at your throat.
What a weird question to ask somebody. In that situation, why would you care if they enjoy it? So he's demanding dust. Obviously, I refuse. Let's talk to him really quickly here.
We have one word for to die stabbing each other. No,
I bet that word comes in handy.
Word.
So it would cost 282 influence to force peace with him. I assume, yeah, he's not really interested in peace the old-fashioned way, although, honestly, he's less... he hates it less than I thought. Maybe we could try to negotiate a little something with him here. Even for all of the dust we have, he wouldn't go for it. We have some other resources, though. I'm just kind of curious if we could get him to agree to peace. If you force peace upon them, they have a tendency to get pretty angry about that. This is only 197 influence, and I bet we could fiddle with this deal and make it even less. So you can see, whenever you negotiate with another empire, every term you put on the deal has an influence cost associated with it. We might be able to get these guys to agree to peace, and thus, probably, to agree to fight somebody else, because declaring war on somebody you were at peace with can get a little expensive, influence-wise. Alright, down here on Ying, I don't know that it particularly matters what we search at this point. I was kind of hoping we were going to be able to grab some atmospheric anomalies here, so that we could participate in that quest. I guess let's check the anomalies that are on the planets that we are likely to inhabit. Some titanium and... Okay, just a loot of titanium, and then also a titanium deposit. That makes this planet pretty attractive. It's got good stats for us. And sadly, we cannot quite make that distance in a single turn. Alright, hold on a second. We're going to come back to that. I was really hoping we would be able to get close enough to the pirate fleet to see them before we had to make a decision about what ships to build, but sadly they went off down a different star lane. Well, we'll pursue for the moment. See if we can catch up with them. And maybe Jane just builds something else in the meantime. Let's go ahead and launch the Petitioner and send it over to Gyazar, because I still think that's probably right. I guess maybe we want Ying instead, because on Gyazar we were just gonna... We were gonna settle on this huge Mediterranean world, right? But there is also this ocean world, which has a lot more food. And we're planning to use dust to buy out some of the early structures, so the fact that we have fewer points of production here maybe doesn't matter so much. The titanium is over here, though. I'm a little torn. I guess we don't have to make the decision just yet. But the question is, do we think that settling on Ying 3 is better? Actually, yeah, it probably is, right? 8 food, 7 industry. That's a strong planet. 8 population spaces. Okay, I think I've convinced myself. Reroute. It'll take a couple extra turns, but that'll be worth it. Right, we have a little bit more business to attend to here. So we've successfully hacked the Academy. If you are paying reparations to the Academy, this will decrease them. If we are... Increase your contributions to the Academy. That's weird. Why would I hack them to increase my contributions? Couldn't I just tell them I would like to contribute more? We could immobilize some Academy-controlled fleets, which probably is a thing that's pretty useful in some situations. We could also increase our progress toward the next hero. So passively, we are earning hero unlock points. There are things we can do to increase the rate at which we earn those. But basically, like, just every so often, the Academy will send us a new hero. We could use this to speed that up. It looks like adds 5% of the hero unlock threshold. Honestly, I don't know that I think that that's very useful. I mean, like, having a second hero would be cool and everything, but that's a pretty small bonus. Maybe we'd be better off creating a backdoor to run here? I don't know, maybe we do want to do this. So we'd get to choose a class to focus toward. Maybe this is a little bit different than... Because there is a system where you're passively earning progress toward a hero, but maybe this is a different system on top of that. There's probably some new stuff with the Academy, right? Some new mechanics that I'm not yet familiar with. Okay, well, what kind of hero do we want? Counselors are all about increasing your empire-wide resources and diplomacy. I feel like that does fit us. Once upon a time, I could have told you just exactly what skills each of these had, but I don't remember anymore. So I know that overseers definitely have resource generation skills. Let's try to earn ourselves an overseer a little bit faster, and then maybe send another hack and just keep doing that. May as well keep that accelerator running. Alright, so we have no idea what the enemy fleet looks like yet. We could hold off. We could build something that isn't a ship, just for a moment here. Plus 2 food per population point is fine. Plus 10 food per luxury deposit. That's a little bit more compelling. We would have to pick up Jane 2 before that would actually be really good, but once we picked up Jane 2, it is really good. Maybe that's what we do. Yeah, spend a couple of turns colonizing another world in our system here. Actually, I like that quite a bit. Alright, so we're fanning out. We're getting stronger. It's going to be a minute before we're ready to spend any dust. Because it's not as simple as getting the colony ship to the planet and then pressing the colonize button. There is a growth phase in between. A hostile trace was detected. Your hacking op was discovered by a defensive program on Kochab, the pirates. Alright, the enemy is likely tracing you and may respond when the trace finishes next turn. Not totally ideal.
Feel free to.
I mean, they're just pirates. We sort of don't care how they feel about us, right?
To force this down your throat.
Alright, so through a deluge of formal diplomatic requests and actions, you managed to clutter diplomatic channels with this empire. What they have done is they've paid some influence to increase their pressure on us. We haven't talked about pressure yet. For the moment, that doesn't really do anything. I don't think that was a good expenditure of their resources. One of the effects that they are trying to have here, so you can see we have some indication of our pressure trend. As we exert pressure on them, this little wedge here, I can't really mouse over it without that tooltip covering up what I'm talking about. But this little wedge of the diplomacy wheel will get more blue, and as they exert pressure on us, it will get more orange. If it gets full enough with either color, then you can make some diplomatic demands. I'm not too worried about them exerting enough pressure on us for that to be an issue. It really is quite a bit. Intergalactic peace has led to a price decrease for military ships. Okay, they're talking about the marketplace, where you can buy ships and heroes and luxury goods and stuff if you have the right, if you have enough dust and the right technologies. We started with the technology that gives us access to half the market. The other tech is honestly not a super high priority. But as long as we're here, we should talk about system development, because I keep forgetting to come here and do this. You can see, right now, all of our systems are level 1. We can level them up by utilizing this development system. We select a resource that goes into our development, so like we can make our level 2 development be plus 60 dust on system, and that will mean it has a cost of 25 dust-siduous trees. This is one of the main uses of the luxury goods. And then whenever we level up a system to level 2, it will cost those trees and it will give this bonus. We have access to a couple of, a fair swath, really, of different resources that do different things. I'm a big fan of Redsang as a system booster, but we don't actually have a source of Redsang. We found some in a box somewhere, but it's not even enough to upgrade one system. We might go for the dust-siduous trees just because it kind of seems like we're going to end up on sort of a dust economy here, doing a lot of buying buildings rather than building buildings. And we already have the trees coming in. Let's go ahead and do that. So now we could spend one turn to upgrade any one of our systems to level 2 and start making an awful lot of money. Alright, let's go ahead and put down over here on Zorak 2. Population should grow quickly, but it's going to be real tough to build. That's fine, that's what we brought all this money for. I'm assuming that we just build the colony in a dome at the bottom of the ocean, although, you know what? Our people do look like pretty zombied out, like we were noticing. Maybe they don't have to breathe. Alright, so our colony is receiving food shipments from the capital. Every time a food shipment arrives, it'll go in the big pile. Once the big pile of food reaches a high enough value, this will become a proper colony. At this rate, it's going to take 24 turns from the natural food growth of the planet, which is 13 per turn. So every shipment of 45 food is going to reduce the counter by about 3 turns. But we can speed this up a little bit by paying some resources. I think we could just pay 150 dust to double the food output of the colony, because it's quite a considerable number. Like, this is going to get built up fairly quickly. And we can save the influence. I don't think we need to do this part. This would double the size of the food shipments. Yeah, Zorak will be just fine off of just the amount of food that is naturally there. Alright, what about you? Maybe the right play is to just send a probe down here. I don't really want to Oh, you're kidding me. It didn't get quite far enough to see them. Alright, well, I'll just end my turn right here. We really, really want to see those pirates. Looks like a ship from the Academy is blockading the pirates, which is nice. Okay, this is the quest fleet. Is there a bunch of small... Hey, don't you dare delete my... Damn it. We lost vision of them again. I said, let me see the tooltip. There we go. Alright, their weapons are entirely projectile-based, and all of their defenses are good against projectiles. In addition, their ships are tuned for long range, so this means that they're using primarily torpedo-based weaponry. That's fine, we can work with that. Our population boost has ended. I don't know if we have enough... let me see, it's this screen. Yeah, we don't have enough Eden Blossom to run that again, but we can get some more Eden Blossom. It's not a big deal. We have a source of it in our systems. We just haven't actually connected to it yet. So we'll get that running again soon. Right, that's fine. And we completed this. Apparently, all we had to do was put down the outpost. I thought we'd have to get it to a whole colony before this quest would complete. With the final touches being put to the skimmer racing complex, you give the Yosho leader a guided tour of the site. Afterward, they cannot hide their excitement. Your architects and course designers are among the finest in the galaxy. This place will give me much pleasure, and hopefully many winnings. The Yosho presents an ornate key on a sequined cushion. As promised, the key to the kingdom. I did not think that it was going to be a literal key. You guys are weird. Alright, so the system's variety of peculiar architectural landmarks surrounded by examples of far more modern construction is evidence of a barely FTL civilization that was assimilated by a more technologically advanced galactic empire. So we have created, basically, an anomaly. I thought that created an anomaly. The existence of the previous empire. Well, whatever. We have instead just taken over their colony here. The Yosho are not very good population units, but their planet seems great. Yeah, really, really nice resource distribution. It's got friendly locals, so extra population room and all that extra approval. This was a good get. Unfortunately, they don't have even the most basic buildings necessary for survival, so let's fix that. I don't think I want to spend any dust rushing things over here. We've also gained access to gained control of their fleet, which has some crummy ships, basically some crappy little ships, the worst quality of ship, but at this point, you know, this tripled the size of our military, so I guess I can't complain too much. And a Yosho scout that was probably part of a diplomatic mission trying to convince these guys to come over to the Yosho. Alright, let's go ahead and signal life form or subterranean. Let's check the life form, because it could be Eden Blossoms, and if it is, then we'll be able to, hey, look at that. We'll get 5 Eden Incense. We'll get 5 Eden Incense immediately, which will allow us to run a population booster again. All that extra food. Alright, and then let's get ourselves another relic. It's possible that the smart money here would have been to just focus on the relics as hard as possible in the early going. As soon as we saw our relic here, turn the scouts around immediately instead of finishing what they were doing. Because it really is it's a pretty significant amount of science for each one. I don't know. This is just that first game where we're feeling things out, you know? Okay, so we saw that these guys have projectile weapons and projectile-based defenses. That means, let's go into our ship design window here. We can tech out our ships to be specifically good at fighting these enemies. Right now, we're using projectile weapons, which are not great against their defenses. It is worth noting, they're using torpedoes. We know that because their weapons are really effective at long range, and not effective at short range, and the torpedoes are the only weapons that have that profile. The good thing about fighting an enemy who is reliant on torpedoes is that if you use bullet-type weapons, you have some natural flak defenses. We could just shoot all their stuff down. The other option is we could outfit our ship with laser weaponry to avoid their defenses and just use our own reactive plating against their projectiles, which I think is the way I want to go. So let's replace these things with sync lasers. Our ship is most effective at medium range. We have our good projectile defenses up, but let's add another layer since we have a second slot for defenses there. So our defenses are good against their offense, while their defenses are weak against our offense. And let's build a couple of those squares. Unfortunately, a little bit on the expensive side. I think it's still worthwhile to finish the modernization. If we pull this guy over to here, it does speed things up a little bit, but also it makes us pretty unhappy. This planet is massively plus approval. The total resource yield is pretty good as well. Honestly, we might want to just move all of these guys over to this planet, because that allows us to hit ecstatic. I'm pretty sure the threshold for this is 90, not 89. Ah, whatever. The important part is we hit ecstatic, we have all this food income. If we pull one person over to this planet, that'll be enough extra unhappiness, yeah, to drop us back to happy. And we want to stay ecstatic, because it's an extra 10% food and influence. Man, even with all of this food focus, we're still not giving birth very quickly. It gets more and more expensive as the population of your system goes up. I still think we want to finish the system development before we start building the ships, because I want that money. We need that money to build stuff in our new colonies. On the whole here, I'm pretty happy with how things go. We could attack the Yosho scout ship to show them we mean business, but I don't think that that's really the move we want to make.
We have one word for.
We do have the option now of asking them to get out of our spheres of influence, because we see their ships in our sphere of influence. If we do this, he'll get a choice of responses, and then we'll have a choice of responses to that. But it's going to annoy him. Basically, I know he kind of hates us already because we refused to pay him off, but I think we should avoid antagonizing him in the hope that he will still be amenable to peace when we get enough influence to try that deal. I would just really love it if we didn't end up in a war this quickly. Let's go ahead and move our shuttle up here. Jane is not going to get attacked by pirates. This is the place where we need to be wary of being attacked. So once we put the outpost down on Ying, we're going to also... we don't have enough systems to send out food shipments to all of our colonies, right? Because we only have one... Well, I guess we can send food from Columba. Yeah, we could. I don't know that Columba's making enough food for that to really make sense. Like, we'd be slowing down Columba's growth so much. As part of the reason, by the way, that it's taking so long to build up population at Jane is because we are, you can see, minus 66 food per turn for the outpost. We're just mailing all that food out. My point is, with another outpost growing, we're going to see slower growth. But I still think it's worth expanding quickly here. And this is a great world. And look at it. Who wouldn't want to live on this place with these apparently giant, terrifying birds? Fortunately, this planet is also producing a lot of food naturally. So we can just not worry too much about the food shipments. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to do it this way. What we should probably do is send food from Jane to here. And if we're going to pull food from anywhere for this one, it should be from Columba. Just get the shipments moving a little bit faster. And we're going to experience some very slow empire growth for a moment here, while we're still setting up. At this point, Optimal Operations Expert is starting to get pretty good in our home colony. We have a lot of people now. Well, not a lot, but we have more people now. I don't know if the Academy can convert minor factions into its fold. I'm hoping not, because if they can't, we probably have like all the time in the world to take the Yellow over. We don't have to worry about the fact that it's going to take us forever to build the fleet that we want to fight the pirates with. And do we want you to scan Hidel or Emex? I guess... Yes, Emex. It's further away from that pirate fleet, which we can see is chasing us. I would love to not lose my scout for no reason. Okay. Our hacks are progressing just fine without our input.
Feel free to anger us.
Okay, dude's closing his borders. This is a bad side, diplomatically speaking. But I mean, we already knew that he was not going to be friendly, because they just don't really do that. He's not the worst neighbor we could have had. He's bad, but there are some forces that are even more warlike. And frankly, it's not like the Yosho are obsessed with eliminating other players or anything. It's just that they want to be at war. It's kind of a fine distinction, but the important takeaway for us is that if we can just get him pointed in some other direction, he'll probably be okay being friendly with us. He just needs to be fighting somebody. As opposed to, like, the Cravers, who want to be fighting everybody. How many turns are we talking about on this? Still 8. Is there a food ship en route? There is. Unfortunately, we don't have a sense of how long it's going to take them to arrive. I can't, like, select them. But there's also a food ship coming from Columbus. We're about to have Zorak available. So that's really where we should channel our dust. We should not be considering buyouts over here. We'll just build the 4 squires the old-fashioned way. At the beginning of the game, if I select this here, you can see this is our number of command points in a fleet, current and maximum. At the beginning of the game, you usually have a maximum of 4 command points per fleet. It's just a logistics issue. It means you can only have 4 ships show up to a single battle. But because we started with a bunch of free tech, our command point limit is considerably higher. We could make a much larger fleet than this if we wanted to. 4 ships should be more than enough to defeat these pirates, though, and also, I would love to get back to building other things at some point. We're getting pretty close to enough dust to just buy out the last ship and really accelerate this, which is why I wanted to see, like, does it seem like we're going to want to be buying buildings soon? Because if not, we could feel free to do that. Oh, your system Jane has been hacked. The effects may be immediately visible or may require you to investigate further. Yeah, basically, all we know is that somebody successfully executed a hack. I don't know. Doesn't really... Because we know so little about it, it doesn't really prompt me toward any kind of action. We'll just see if something untoward happens. Alright, found some more transvine. And transvine is a pretty valuable crop. Easy ways to increase your approval. Can be awfully valuable. I mean, we'll see if we end up needing it, though. So far, our people are pretty well behaved. Alright, so the planet we have here is a temperate, fertile planet. That definitely makes me want to build Xeno-industrial architecture, or infrastructure, rather. Obviously, we need food buildings, and both for population growth and for our quest. But I think let's get this accomplished first. Yep, and you're just chilling here until you run out of probes. The probe that we fired off in this direction just found more Starlane. Uh-oh. So the hacking operation was traced, and the Academy might be upset with us. It's possible. Actually, it was traced by the pirates at Kochab, right? Actually, I don't care if they hate us. They are already going to fight us as powerfully as they can. They're going to use every gun and man at their disposal. Pirates are they're not a large enough threat that we have to, like, rush to get rid of their base or anything. They're just going to harass our trade routes and generally be annoying more than, like, dangerous. So we're not in a big hurry to deal with them. We do have to do it, but it doesn't have to be immediate. Oh, right, my thing got canceled, so we have an open slot. We could actually let's try hacking the pirate base, because I believe we can slow down the rate at which they spawn fleets. Do a little bit of logistical damage to them. It would be awfully nice if we could keep them under control until the rest of the ships generate. And hey, look at that. We're getting kind of close to finishing our first technology. Your hacking op was discovered by a defensive program on Kochab. Yeah, I know. Has the new hack has already arrived on Kochab? I guess it wasn't. Yeah, it sure did. It's not a great distance. They're spawning pirate fleets, which is not a big deal. Oh, right, legendary deeds. I wasn't even thinking about those. We should probably have a look. So, in the tech tree, you can see certain tiers of the tech tree open up legendary deeds. Each of these can only be accomplished by one player. So they're competitive. They have a reward that will only be gained by a single player. Here, it's like build this extremely cool building. Over here, we have be the first to possess 20 star system improvements. Here, be the first to reach level 3 in one of your systems. We're the only player, apparently, who even has a level 2 system. If we do this, what do we get for it? The Ultra Wealth Sanctuary. +2 resource generation on the luxury deposits, and trade value up. We'll talk about trade value, eventually. It's another system that we do not, at the moment, need to worry about. We're almost done scouting this place out. Hey, we found some population. A unit of Tikanan. Tikanan, unfortunately, pretty bad. That symbol there, that +5 thing per turn that they're giving us, is defensive manpower. It's used in defending your systems against incursion by enemy fleets when they actually try to land on your planets and take them over. It's probably not going to come up all that much. The AI is not very aggressive. And even in situations where you are getting attacked by another player, defensive manpower is not usually your problem. You're not going to lose an engagement because you didn't have +5 defensive manpower. It's just sort of a bad bonus. I wonder if the Tikanan collection bonuses are any better. I guess we can't actually see until they reach one of our systems. Some of the minor factions have really cool collection bonuses. Like, yeah, this one's not bad. +10 or 20% science on any system that has at least one Zvali population, as long as you keep them happy. Like, that's great. That's super powerful. For some people. It's not as good for us, obviously. What did the Zermisala do? +10% dust on any system that has one. And then, a lot of the time, they unlock a law at 50. Unfortunately, there's no way to see what those laws do ahead of time. You just have to earn them and then find out. Though they appear cold and distant, these castaways have sufficient humanity to beg for help. It is a group of remnants piloting a crippled ship, escaping from an endless site where many of their kind broke down or went mad. Though they were forced to flee before they could discover its cause, they have been limping through space without further death or symptoms. Whatever once cursed them has run its course, and this remnant population is eager to once again settle, live, and work. There are, of course, those in your empire who counsel against it. Unknown refugees are frowned upon by some and feared by others, but frankly, we don't care what those people think at all. Yeah, I am more than happy to accept more people into my empire. There's a 20% chance that the crappiest people in our empire will throw a tantrum when this happens, but hey, 2 points of free population. You have another probe, so let's go ahead and do some more probing. Subterranean or signal. This is fairly likely to be a strategic resource deposit, so I guess let's check this one out. We don't really need to find more resource deposits. Uh-oh, that's bad. It's pirates. Let's leave quickly. Yep, it was a trap, but we managed to get out of there before the ship got into orbit and attacked us. Turns are simultaneous. It hasn't really come up yet, but that pirate could have attacked us at any moment there. And I could tell it was a pirate fleet rather than a neutral fleet because pirates have a slightly different coloration to like the little chevron above their number. It's this color. All right, how's that fleet coming along? We just finished the 3rd ship. Each of our ships should be superior to the particular pilot vessels that we're going after. If we also outnumber them, there's a pretty good chance we'll be able to win the space battle without even losing any of our stuff. Which is definitely the way that I would like this to go down. So what do we want to do with our scouts, since it's apparently not safe to investigate this? I guess we could go to Mayal. That involves quite a lot of travel, but there is some scouting to do there. The other option, I suppose, is just shoot probes out in various directions until you find another constellation, and then go there for that quest. Honestly, I think that might be the right move. We need to figure out where the other constellations are. We need to get some sense of what else is going on in the galaxy. Information is a powerful thing. Alright, Zorak has become a proper colony. And a quest. Opening your empire's doors to new population types has its challenges, but also its rewards. Each new group adds to the strength and flexibility of a society, contributing to the maturity of your empire as a whole. So, capture, assimilate, or attract, just get a new population type to get a bunch of influence. And, speaking of getting a bunch of influence, where are we at on being able to force peace on these guys? My suspicion is they're no longer going to be as willing to take a mutual peace deal, although, actually, it's still not bad. Force peace is getting more expensive, unfortunately. I'm not actually 100% sure what all the factors are that increase the cost of these terms. I'm pretty sure that our empire size has an effect on it, though, so that's part of why we've seen it go up so much. Alright, what would we have to give them? What if I was willing to give you a whole bunch of... Here we go. A whole bunch of strategic resources. In the early game, the AI tends to like strategic resources a lot. So let's say we give you 50 titanium? Okay, that's actually way more than is necessary. Wow. Seems like he doesn't need much at all. This is kind of a tedious, fiddly process, dialing in the resource values, but I don't want to give him any more than we have to, because obviously I'd like to have stuff for myself. That's good enough. He'll probably take this deal. And with us being formally at peace, now first of all, he's much less likely to declare war on us, and secondly, if he wants to declare war, it's going to have a much higher influence cost, because he's reversing the treaties. So hopefully that'll convince him to look elsewhere. Also, now that we're at peace with another player, it starts to make sense to run the make love not war policy. Unfortunately, it's going to cost quite a bit to enact, and also the upkeep on it is more than we're bringing in per turn, so we're going to have to figure out a solution to that, to up our influence generation somehow. Speaking of influence generation, there was a patch today, and they did change some things. It seems like they fixed a lot of the bugs that people had warned me about, but they also made some changes to the way that our temples work. So if we jump over here, have a look at the temple specialization, you can see it now only reduces the resource output of the planet by 50%, and it gives a significant increase to your influence. Rather than directly increasing the size of the influence zone around the system, you just get a bunch more influence, which still increases the zone size, but now also gives you a currency to spend. And that's pretty interesting. We could afford to run a pretty large, complicated government with powerful laws in it if we were to turn a planet or two into a temple to the lost. I'm wondering if we might want to do that on one of the new systems. I think Jane, we probably want to keep Jane outputting all of the actual resources that it is outputting. Alright, over here, we do need more industry. I mean, I think I'm inclined to just buy the drone network straight up. A xeno-industrial infrastructure would also be really nice. And we're very close to being able to buy that. Yeah, let's save up for that. We'll have the system work on the drone networks, and we'll just buy out the infrastructure in a turn or two. Columba over here could get a system modernization. How quickly are we bringing in the deciduous trees? 2 per turn. Okay, so we can't do those modernizations too often. But another 60 dust per turn will really help with buying stuff out for Zorak and Ying. We discovered a unit of Nashast population. Again, a population type that is largely focused on defending yourself from enemies attacking your planets, which is a thing that doesn't happen all that often. So I do feel like we're getting kind of bad luck on those. But when those guys actually land at one of our colonies, that'll be a new population type for us, so that'll accomplish that that quest that we got and give us a bunch of influence. I guess you can just move up here. There's still a lot of stuff to search. And from here, we might be able to shoot a probe far enough to see if there are any systems over on this edge of this arm of the galaxy. Okay. Nice to make a friend. Nice to make a potential enemy into a friend. And this means that we don't have to worry about having our defensive fleets in 2 places at once. So we can probably pull these guys forward, actually. Alright, we have hacked Kochab. Let's screw with these pirates. Lower their reinforcement points and lengthen the amount of time until the next fleet. I don't really care to improve my relations with them. Or we could steal some of their stuff. My experience is that this does not really give you a lot of resources. I am comfortable with just slowing down the rate of their reinforcements. And let's go ahead and merge these 2 fleets together and send them off in the direction of the pirates. Actually, stop over here, because we do have this pirate ship flying around. We might want these guys to clean up the backfield while our newly built fleet takes care of the pirate base. Alright, so Ying has become a proper colony. The Galactic census is coming up, and although you have greater worries on your mind, you remember what one of your wisest advisors once said, that a great leader is often judged not by his actions, but by the statistics he leaves behind. Which, you know, makes sense. That's a measure of the impact of your actions rather than their intent. But perhaps it is worth investing a bit of effort to leave your mark on history, as the databases will remember it. Which is to say, more or less correctly. So in less than 20 turns, possess 2 ships of at least 122 offensive power. What is the offensive power of my current ship design? 102. Okay, that does not necessarily seem like an easy thing to do. We'd have to either research a ship design that can hold more guns, or we'd have to get a new tier of offensive modules. We could build our civilization up in less than 20 turns, generate 146 influence for industry rather for some dust, or we could simply hoard money. Stockpile 1,855 dust for 100 more dust. Honestly, we're at over 1,600 right now. Let's just take this and not spend for a turn. Yeah, we're at 1,620 right now, so we have to not spend for 2 turns, and then that'll be completed.
See this as
interesting. They're still doing this pressure push on us. They're gonna have to spend an awful lot of influence running that operation over and over and over again in order for it to be generate enough pressure to actually have a meaningful effect on us. Where do I want to position you to send out probes? Honestly, down here I think makes a lot of sense. Just try to send a lot of probes into the nearby arm of the galaxy. Okay, somebody else achieved this one. Honestly, we were pretty close to that. What do we have? 3, 4, 5, 6? Yeah, we could have done that if I had been focusing on it. Because, like, Ying has 2 more planets we can already colonize. Ooh, check that out. There's a dust nebula on this planet. Wow, that is pretty good. We don't get the benefits of this until we colonize the world, so colonizing that world might be a high priority. And I think we're going to do... Yeah, we're going to do the same build here that we're doing in the other place, I guess. It's a shame we don't have enough dust to buy stuff out in both of them. We could construct some more dust structures. We don't have a ton of things that improve our dust output, but we have this. Probably better in the capital, where the population is going to tend to be higher, since we've been focusing on food since the start of the game. We're currently at 65 approval, so the infinite supermarkets would be enough to push us up to the next threshold. Yeah, making the planet happy will help it grow, and then we can hopefully claim the rest of that system pretty soon. And hacking, right? I always forget to assign my hacking operations. So, we probably don't need to keep harassing the pirates too much more, because our fleet is about to be ready to do the thing. So I guess let's try pushing on the Academy again. So I gotta click on my node, then their node. It is very annoying that this pirate base is intercepting our signals and messing with them, but problem will soon be fixed. Yep. They caught our signal and are tracing it, no big surprise there. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, the pirate fleet is headed toward... The musical pirate fleet is headed toward Kochab.
Welcome to the Sophonoty. There are some among us who doubt your intellectual chops. Please, prove them wrong.
So these are the guys who currently own our constellation. Or do they still? No, now it's been taken over by yet another unknown empire? Man. I wonder how large this constellation is. Well, we'll keep working on it. So we don't actually see the ship that we met. I assume we caught vision of them briefly, like over here somewhere. So my guess is if we continued down this way, we'd find them somewhere over there. The Sophons can sometimes be friendly. Occasionally you can get along with them and make some positive diplomatic action happen. Alright, so is there anything else that we really need to do this turn? I think I prefer this action to examining curiosities on Hidel for the moment. We just got to try to, like, reach out and make contact. Given the number of players we're seeing on our constellation, I'm wondering if there's a lot of empty space out in the galaxy, and if there is, finding that empty space before everybody else does, obviously, would be pretty valuable. Xenotourism agencies will result in a whole lot of extra dust, especially once we pull all the people off of Sobra. We could try to go after some of these unique buildings, and I mean, obviously, like, there's a lot of science to be had. This is not so good for us. This one gives a lot of science, but also gives a lot of dust. We could go after... I mean, we still get... what, half of the science from these system improvements. And we do need more than we are currently getting. But it feels like such a waste to build one of these, right? I think we would maybe be best off just focusing on food, like really filling up all the population slots here. Once you level up a system to at least level 2, you gain access to the spaceport, which allows you to move units of population to other places. So now that this system has a spaceport, we don't have to worry about overcrowding it, because we could just send them off to our new systems, and that'll be a really good way to colonize those and make them profitable immediately. So it actually really, really benefits us to drive food up here. You don't have anything else to do this turn. And next turn, yeah, next turn is when we're going to pass the value for that quest. I think we're making pretty good progress here. We actually finished a research. That's something. Alright, we did it. 100 extra dust. Your system, Columba, has been selected as the host venue for a major diplomatic summit. In the coming months, all eyes will be on you. Watchdog groups across the galaxy will be monitoring Columba's infrastructure, stability, and security in preparation for the summit. Make sure the event goes off without a hitch, and you may find surprising new opportunities open up. Okay. Keep Columba free of enemy ships. That's actually really good for us. Columba's really far away from everybody except the Yosho, and the Yosho are not my enemies. I'm not actually 100% sure whether the... When the quest says enemy ships, I assume it doesn't include ships controlled by people who are at peace with you. I guess we'll find out, because the Yosho are definitely going to fly their scouts around here. Alright, we finished a research. We have access to wormholes. Actually, do we see any wormholes? Yeah, this is what we're looking for. So there's something going on over there. That is what this scout is going to get up to. Go find out what is on the other side of that wormhole. And then we need to queue up some new research. So we have a bunch of different options. We could go for bigger, more impressive ships. We could start researching a little bit more military technology, get ourselves some better weapons tech, and also accelerate the rate at which the behemoths come online. My suspicion is that we will exploit the behemoths more effectively than the AI does, so it probably is in our best interest for that to happen soon. But there are a lot of other things we could do as well. We could start working on this band in economy and trade to try to unlock the ability to get level 3 system upgrades, which of course would give us access to the Ultra Wealth Sanctuary. It does seem like a good thing to have. This is also where you get the ability to mine adamantium and antimatter. We do know where there's a source of adamantium, and in theory, we're about to take over this system pretty soon. So yeah, the adamantium mining tech makes a lot of sense. It also has attached to it a pretty powerful industry building, and a planetary specialization that gives even more industry. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. Obviously, we're going to need to get a whole lot more science. Alright, hopefully one of those probes will come in contact with something. I gotta be honest with you, I think that this feels like a pretty good start. We're not in any immediate danger. We have a military that should at least be sufficient to handle the small number of pirates that we can see. Our empire overall is pretty happy, well managed. We're not seeing a lot of starvation or rebellions or anything. But I'll tell you what else we need. We need colonization techs. Like, it would be cool if we could colonize Columba 3. That's got to be something we work on in the near future. We don't so much need... Oh, you know what? We could run... we could be running that law that gives bonuses for anomalies, because we actually do have population on planets with anomalies now. And then we don't really need a ton more food here, probably. We're producing population at a reasonable rate, and we are going to hit our pop cap, so what else could we build? Interplanetary transport network is not super good here. I mean, this is 7.5 science per turn, and also 15 dust. For the amount of industry it costs, yeah, that's definitely worth building. And then I know that right now the Yosho are friendly, but maybe we should build up some basic defensive structures since Columba is the front against them in case they decide to backstab us, which is a thing that happens. Retractable armaments is one of the most powerful defensive structures. It's actually very, very good. Let's just throw that in the queue. Not that I don't trust you guys, but I don't. Like, I extremely don't. Also, now that we're no longer saving up for that quest, let's go ahead and rush this out. And then 403 dust. I guess we're just gonna, we can probably rush like a couple of turns off of the Xeno-Industrial infrastructure over here. Yeah, alright. Let's get to... We're getting pretty close to the hour here, but I would really like to wrap up the quest for Wasat. Let's try to get that thing done, and then we'll probably end it for today. Let's get the last level of Optimal Operations Expert, which is getting to be kind of a lot of food and industry, thanks to the the early food focus that we've had here. Yeah, we're at 9 population on that planet already. Alright, everybody's building stuff, and everybody has more stuff to build. I guess what we could do with this scout is just send him down past Merope, or Merope, maybe? I have no idea how that's pronounced. And see what all is over there. You know what, let's go down to IMEX and see if we can find the end of this star lane with a drone first. Or with a probe. And then if one of these probes reveals something, we can come back and zoom off to it. If we just had this guy run down here, then if one of these probes did discover a system we could reach, we'd have to turn him around and run all the way back. It would just be very inconvenient. Alright, we are very slightly influence negative running that loss, so that's something we have to deal with. Columba has been hacked. Well, I think we have a pretty good idea who did that. It's a fair point. We should probably be running an encryption program at the very least, since we know that that's a system that is vulnerable to enemy nonsense here. And we have discovered the Academy. Oh, that's what was on the other side of the wormhole. It's the Academy. Let's have a look here. First of all, the Academy is a massive orbital facility around a ruined planet. It is super cool looking. Having the Academy in your empire obviously is very valuable, but the people who currently own it would be resistant to that idea. Some strange fossils here. And a huge monsoon world. So it's an interesting system. If we decided to turn on the Academy and try to take them from it, I think it would be pretty good for us. But here is the fleet that they're going to use to try to prevent us from doing that. The Bastion, which is a very impressive ship. If you look at the offense and defense numbers there, remember that our current ships have values in the neighborhood of like 100. This carrier would absolutely destroy our entire military without even breaking a sweat. So maybe forget all that stuff I was saying about how valuable their their system would be. Okay, and we are about to have the very first battle of the campaign. This is the quest fleet, isn't it? Yeah, okay, cool. They tried to jump us at the neutron star, thinking that they would be able to enact some piracy upon us. So the combat system in this game, I think, is pretty cool. You can see, if we go into the advanced view here, all of our ships lined up against all of their ships. As you get larger and larger fleets, as you have more command points worth of fleets or ships in your fleet, you gain access to additional flotillas, sort of like flanks that you can run against the enemy. It gets a little bit more complicated. For right now, with this very simple one flotilla versus one flotilla battle, we're just going to pick a battle tactic. They're also selecting a tactic card. And then our ships will try to take up the distances that are shown on the card, and each card also has some other stuff that it does. So we're going to try to take trophies here. We'll get 30 dust for every command point worth of enemy ships we destroy, and also 10 science. I'm going to assume that this science is not reduced by anything, because we didn't see a line in our Empire description that said anything about reduced science from battles. So this might actually be a really good way to conduct research for us. And we're going to try to take up medium range, because of course our ship weapons are most effective at medium range, and the enemy ship weapons are not super good at medium. I assume they're going to pick a combat tactic that has them fighting at long. Oh, I forgot to... Sorry about that. I forgot to have spectate on. Let's go ahead and watch the battle so that we can understand what's happening. So, yeah, they did in fact pick a tactic that has them at long range. At the beginning of battle, you'll always be at the longest range that any player picked. And then ships will close during each phase of the battle toward their optimal closer range. So right now we are at long because it's at phase 1. We can run this a little bit faster, and you can see they're going to start shooting torpedoes at us any second. We have our laser weapons, which are not optimally effective at this range, but then as the battle goes on, we continue to close on them. Yep, see, so now we're at medium range, and all of a sudden they're taking a lot more damage while dealing a lot less. We did lose a ship, sadly. I was kind of hoping we'd come out of this with all 4 of them so that we could use everything to pressure the pirates, but no such luck. But the good news is, we sure did kill the hell out of those pirates. The thieves won't be troubling the Illo Fringe dwellers again, their ships obliterated, and their leaders imprisoned. Perhaps one day they can be fully rehabilitated and become theater directors. You know, the ones we didn't blow up anyway. Alright, 110 influence, that'll keep us running that law for quite some time. And, check it out, we got ourselves a system. So unfortunately, the adamantium deposit is on a world type that we can't actually inhabit. I forgot to check for that. And you can see here, we've created a minor civilization remains curiosity, which is what I thought was going to happen on the other system as well, but for some reason it didn't. So we could have a scout come and explore this, or we could have the system dig it out later. For right now, let's just focus on... Oh hey, they already have the Xeno-industrial infrastructure. Actually, they already have a fair number of buildings, just not drone networks. Okay, well I definitely think it's a good idea to get that established. So this is an Arctic world. The world over here in Colombo that had the resource on it was also Arctic. So given that we currently can't inhabit the world the adamantium is on, maybe we put neural robotics on the back burner. So we need the tech that allows us to inhabit Arctic worlds. It is graviton research. Alright, let's just pull that ahead in the science queue there. It's going to take a while. But when we research it, we'll be able to colonize Arctic worlds. We'll get a new defensive hacking program and a new offensive hacking program. We'll get a building that produces a lot of science that we probably will not build very many copies of. And you can see here, the way that we unlock future tiers of technology is by by researching a certain number of things in the previous tier. So we finished autonomous materials. Once we have graviton research, 2 of the locks will be finished. And then we just got to grab 1 of something else. My suspicion is we will not be doing a ton of research in this tier, or in this this quadrant, because obviously the science buildings are not very good for us. We have had enough Nakalim births to reach 10, which is just going to give us some additional political output. That's not a great bonus, obviously. At 20, we're going to see a lot more dust income, though. And we're growing pretty quickly. Alright, so we don't quite have the number of ships I was hoping that we would have to push on Kochab, but never mind. We actually have more ships than that because we got access to the Illo fleet. So we're just going to fly down here and see if we can't wipe out this base real quick. The base itself doesn't have any weapons on it. It's not like it's going to be a shooting fight in space, but we're going to have to invade it with manpower, which will be a good opportunity to look at that system. Alright, I think we're all set for the turn. Oh, we have some buildings to set out here. So we still need 2 more food improvements to move our faction quest along. And I think we probably want to put some priority on that. So we'll build this here, and then in Zorak... In Zorak, we do not have a ton of room for growth, but still, I think making a food building might be pretty sensible. Except that the food buildings we have are not very good for us. This planet is neither cold nor hot, and we only have a little bit of population, so epigenetic crop seeding is a lot of industry for not a lot of return. Yeah, I guess this is just not a good place for the next food building. Well, I mean, intensive cultivation logistics is not terrible. 10 extra food plus 10%. It's a lot of industry, though. Yeah, I think I'd rather, build interplanetary transport network into xenotourism. The planet has both types of resource deposits. You get a lot of extra resources out of that stuff. I mean, it's the same amount of resources. Hold on a second. Let me clarify what I mean there. Obviously, this is going to give us 4 food per citizen. This is going to give us 4 industry per citizen. It's not actually that different from epigenetic crop seeding, but we're going to run out of use for food on this system eventually, while these things will always be good. And I say eventually. We're going to run out of food on that system, like, soon. It's not that eventual. Alright, so is Cran part of my constellation? No, Cran is part of a new constellation. That's good for us, right? Didn't we have a quest? Yeah, so we've discovered one system outside our constellation, and that guy will just travel around that constellation and find 3 more. Should be easy. Alright, where are we at? We are 10 minutes past the hour. This is probably an okay place to stop. Honestly, I'm pretty pleased with the growth of our empire to this point in the game. 5 functional colonies before turn 40. Feels pretty alright. We're not going to get devoured by our neighbor, probably, at least not immediately. I think we're in a good spot here. That is going to be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. My intent with this series is to release an hour of gameplay every weekday, but because this series started so close to the weekend, I'll try to get an extra one out over the weekend. It's going to be kind of a busy one for me, but I think I should be able to get one more. So come back, I don't know, let's say Sunday, to see what we make of what I think is a pretty powerful start, and we'll see you then.